Okay, if you can be coming to an end of your reflections on story 2, we're now going to listen to voice 3. And the circumstances described in this third interview happened over 15 years ago.
I was only 18 when I had my first child. 14 months later, I had a second child. I was after falling pregnant on my first pregnancy on the pill. I was after falling pregnant on my second pregnancy, waiting to get the injection, because you can't get it for 6 months after you have a baby. Went to get it, was pregnant again. So I had 2 small babies with only 14 months between them. Unfortunately, I was attacked, very violently sexually assaulted by a stranger. That was very difficult. I developed agoraphobia. I developed an awful lot of anxiety, and we were left to deal with the fallout of that really on our own, trying to raise 2 small children. I started coming out of it and come back out into the world and try and find my feet again. And I was taken off the injection by my doctor because said I'd been on it too long, so I had to give it a break. While we were waiting to get the next contraception, I fell pregnant again. I was only starting to stop having daily panic attacks. I was only getting a handle on my mental stability. And I had 2 babies that had already suffered. They'd already basically watched their mother have a nervous breakdown. So finding out I was pregnant again was terrifying. Terrifying because I didn't think I was mentally capable of looking after another child, and financially, they were equally as scary. We were already financially struggling. We were a one-wage family. We just couldn't afford. How would we look after the 2 that had already suffered? You know, they didn't deserve to be denied more. You know, we had a 2-bedroom apartment. Where were we going to put another baby? Bringing another baby into an already stressed family doesn't make things better, it makes things harder. As much love in the world as you can have for a child, you still need to provide. We both didn't want another child. We both knew that it was the right decision not to have another child. We sat up many nights, long into the early hours, discussing everything. I'd already given up my carefree years to have children, and I didn't regret that. I love my 2 children deeply, but I knew it wasn't the right decision to have another child, that I couldn't mentally cope with another child. I was just about beginning to breathe, and I was just beginning to see my own worth. And having a child is one of the hardest things that anybody on this planet will ever do. Being responsible for the happiness and health and well-being of another individual. I already knew what was required to do the job properly. And at that time, and since I know I didn't want to do that job again. Once I had come to terms that it was the right thing to do, then the process of trying to get money to go to Liverpool began, and that was 6 weeks, ending in us getting a loan from a loan shark. It's unbelievably expensive. You have all the flights or ferries, taxis, bus connections, whatever it is. You have accommodation, you have the price of the procedure. It's not cheap. My procedure happened a lot later than it needed to happen. It was so stressful. We had to take out this ridiculous loan with ridiculous repayments. And 2 children, knowing that we were coming back to that was horrific. I was so ill. I was just vomiting. Nearly every time I moved, I was getting sick. I lost weight. I felt like I couldn't even visit my GP, because how could I visit my GP, being sick, being morning sickness, but I wasn't keeping this baby? I felt like I would be shunned out of my doctors and struck off their list. There was no one here in Ireland that could give me an answer as what the repercussions would be if I went to a doctor. I was terrified, absolutely terrified. At the time, I felt like everybody knew. Even on the ferry, felt like the staff knew. It's that big taboo, and you feel like you're on that boat with a big, shiny, bloody cone, alerting everybody to your shame, that you're just dirty woman being shipped off like trash, like you don't deserve to be looked after in your own country. We're just going to ship you across the Irish Sea and let somebody else deal with your mistake. Even though you know you're doing the right thing, you're still ashamed. And I don't think that's right. I don't think women should be constantly made to feel that shame. It's not our shame. Why should we be threatened with 14 years in jail because we don't want to add to our family? Men can choose to walk away, but women can't. This is my body. I had a right to do whatever I want with my body. I'd done it for my 2 children that deserved every chance that I could possibly give them. I believe that the decision I made benefited them, that they deserved a sane, functioning mother. And if I had have had another child, I don't think I would have coped, because I wouldn't have been able to find me, to figure out who I was apart from just being a mother. And I think I make a better mother now that I have my own individual identity. I had them very young, so it stunted my individual growth, and I didn't need to have another child. I needed to find out who I was and develop myself as a person and heal myself. I couldn't go through any more stress and add any more stress and pain into my life. I had to start the healing, and this was going to send me back to turmoil again. There was nothing left in the tank. It was the right decision, definitely, for my family and me. After the abortion, I went to college. That gave me lots of confidence. I still suffered with panic attacks, but I coped with them. My natural baseline personality was able to come back out and resurface itself, and I found who I was. Even though I knew I'd made the right decision, there was still this weird shame. I've been called a murderer. I've been called Hitler. I've had terrible things said to me. I'm not a murderer.
How would you like to describe yourself?
Responsible. Hopeful. That I made the right decision to make the people that were living and breathing in my life a happier and healthier family. We're not ogres. We're not unclean. We're not we're your sisters, or your mothers, or your nieces. We're every woman. Enough is enough. We need to take this shame and stigma away from this.
Again, to thank that woman for her interview, and again to invite you in the next 2 minutes just to jot down your reaction, a word, just to see where you are after listening to that.